The Galaxy Watch Ultra is Samsung's new flagship watch. If I were to summarise this video, I would say it was a personal health and fitness coach on your wrist for the very active owner. It's more rugged, more durable, and with additional hardware for those who want the best in consumer health technology. I found that I love the watch, but it's definitely more technology than I need for my very average lifestyle. The first thing you'll notice when comparing the Ultra to the previous top-end design of the Watch Classic is the difference in dimensions and size. The fascia is approximately the same size, but the new body design of the watch is larger and squared off to accommodate new hardware. Removing the rotating bezel that was on the Classic is the first sign this is designed for harsher conditions. Doing away with moving parts not only reduces the risk of breaking the watch, but also eliminates the possibility of ingress of foreign materials such as dust, dirt and water. The watch overall is an upgrade in durability. The body is made of grade 4 titanium, the strongest type of pure unalloyed titanium. This material is incredibly durable and corrosion resistant. The watch face is made from sapphire crystal, a synthetic material made from crystallizing pure aluminium oxide at very high temperatures. Not actually glass, but rather a transparent ceramic material with the same hardness as natural sapphires. Sapphire crystal is highly valued for its scratch resistance, making it a popular choice for watch faces, smartphone screens, camera lenses, and is only second to diamond in terms of hardness. The Galaxy Watch Ultra and the Watch 7 are also marketed to withstand up to 55 degrees Celsius temperatures, and they are water resistant up to 100 meters in depth. This compares to the 50 meters of depth or 5 atmospheres of the Watch 6. Part of the marketing is focused on the military grade durability. The MIL STD 810H rating means that the watch has passed testing for extreme temperature, moisture, dust and impacts, along with 30 other total testing situations. If you're unfamiliar with the standard, you're not alone. Interestingly, there isn't an agency that certifies compliance. Rather, the MIL STD 810 is the title for a series of tests and procedures published by the US Department of Defense for their own internal laboratory testing. Samsung and other manufacturers simply interpret their own version of the same tests to enable them to use the MIL STD 810H rating in marketing. However, the US military does not endorse the Ultra or any other devices passing those tests. The body of the watch houses a much bigger 590 mAh battery compared to the 425 mAh battery in the 47mm Galaxy Watch Classic. This has some obvious advantages, not least for some of the health tracking options which I talk about later. One slight downgrade is the display on the Ultra is only 327 ppi compared to the Classic which features 453 ppi. However, it's arguable as to whether you'd notice during daily use. In terms of other hardware changes, the Ultra features a new faster processor and 32GB of storage, compared to the slower CPU and smaller 16GB of storage in the Watch 6 generation. However, both the current and previous flagship devices have 2GB of RAM. The hardware changes will contribute to faster interactions with the watch and enable the Ultra to complete more demanding tasks, not least the new AI processing featured heavily in the marketing. Samsung has also upgraded the GPS hardware on the Galaxy Watch using dual frequency GPS. It was something I was keen to know more about and talk about it more later in this video. Finally, Samsung has reconfigured and added some additional tech to help more accurately monitor your biometrics. This is the new snappily titled Bioactive sensor. Samsung engineers have focused on 3 upgrades to the new sensor: enhancing the performance of the light-receiving photodiodes, adding additional colours of light-emitting diodes, and arranging them more optimally across the sensor. The basic science behind the technology works by emitting light from the LEDs onto your skin and subcutaneous blood vessels. The watch measures the reflected light frequencies, and that information is then processed so that it enables the watch and the Samsung Health app to translate that into useful biometric data, including heart rate, sleep quality, blood oxygen levels, and stress levels. Different colour LEDs work on different frequencies. Certain frequencies of light will be reflected differently back to the sensor, and that gives the hardware and the software more data to work with. In turn, this is what makes the technology more accurate. As mentioned, the Ultra has been IP68 rated for immersion in water up to 100 meters. However, it's worth noting the fine print for those who intend to use the watch for water sports. You'll find the following passages. The Galaxy Watch Ultra is water resistant up to 10 minutes in water to a depth of 100 meters. Galaxy Watch Ultra is water resistant with IPX8 rating based on lab conditions of submerging up to 1.5 meters in fresh water for up to 30 minutes. Galaxy Watch Ultra is not suitable for high pressure water activities and diving. It may be used for shallow water activities like swimming in a pool or ocean. With that in mind, prospective buyers should carefully consider whether that level of protection is good enough for their requirements. If you are interested in using the Ultra for water sports, the legacy feature called Water Lock will be very useful. Turning it on will freeze the touchscreen to avoid errant touches and keep the display off to conserve power. However, the fun fact about the feature is that when you turn it off, the watch will emit a high frequency sound to eject the water from the speaker holes and then encourage you to shake off excess water. The quick button is a major update to the hardware and not available in the rest of the Galaxy Watch range. The default function is to allow quick access to the list of sports and health activities that Samsung Health can track. The list of potential activities is exhaustive, including swimming pool or open water swimming, or even differentiating between treadmill or track running. For athletes, the distinction is going to be very important, and will have an impact on the accuracy and usefulness of the data collected. However, you are able to reassign the button to launch a stopwatch, the flashlight, whereby the screen turns a solid white and gives you some basic illumination, or instigate water lock for swimming. The final option here enables you to turn off the quick button to avoid Terrant apps altogether. If you stick with launching the Samsung Health app, you can actually instruct it to launch into a particular exercise tracking. After all, not all athletes are multidisciplined and may prefer to focus on one sport or activity. The additional functions of the button include being able to reassign it to a double press instead of a short press to launch your desired activity to avoid accidentally starting an exercise. Short pressing the quick button during an exercise will pause or resume the tracking. Double pressing will record a lap manually when running or biking. And then finally, pressing and holding the button will finish the exercise. Because the Galaxy Watch Ultra has been designed for owners who take their sports and health activities seriously, the GPS accuracy to measure the distance is critical. The marketing outlines how the watch now utilises dual GPS frequencies compared to the only single frequency of the older devices. All GPS satellites broadcast on at least 2 carrier frequencies. Most of today's civilian devices only use 1 GPS frequency, while military receivers use 2. Using 2 GPS frequencies improves accuracy by correcting signal distortions caused by the Earth's atmosphere. While most users will only really require approximate information, athletes will definitely appreciate the increased accuracy where time and distance is critical for monitoring performance. While it's been available for a while across different devices and earlier Samsung watches, you have the ability to download hiking and biking routes to your watch or your phone. A route is a community-generated set of directions for popular trails for you to follow. They are usually routes that are unavailable in the likes of apps like Google Maps. In the past, these trails wouldn't be available without doing some research in hiking and biking communities, where you'd have to follow written guides to find your way. Now, with the advent of GPS tracking in your watch and other mobile devices, you can simply download routes and follow the visual and audio instructions to keep you on the trail to avoid getting lost. What's more, there's a feature to help you return to your starting point safely called Track Back. This feature will reverse your route and supply guidance to get back to your starting point, which is invaluable if you're not following a circuit hiking route or you simply can't complete your current hike. For the Samsung Galaxy Watches, there are 2 ways to access routes. The first is to download routes as a special GPX file and then upload to the Samsung Health app on your watch. There are a number of biking and hiking communities online that specialise in sharing popular routes. A quick Google search will reveal various options for you. Personally, I like using an app called Komoot. It's an app and web-based community of crowdsourced hikes and bike routes. You can also design your own routes and download the GPX files to your phone and sync the routes on your watch using the Samsung Health app. Once you've downloaded the GPX file, it's a simple matter of navigating to the activities in the Samsung Health app on your phone. Then tap the 3 dots and then tap on Routes. Now tap the plus icon and then choose Import from My Files and select your downloaded GPX file in the download folder. You can now rename the route and save the route to your app so it's accessible for your next adventure. After you complete a route, the Samsung Health app will attach your captured biometric data plus the weather conditions and display it in detail in the workout section of the app for your review. One final note related to this section of the video is that the Ultra does include watch faces that have built-in compasses. It's going to be useful for those owners who might like orienteering while hiking. With the bigger battery, the Ultra doesn't require being charged as often. This is especially useful for sleep tracking. Oftentimes with my old Pixel watch and even my Watch 6 Classic, I'd have to make a conscious effort to charge my watch either just before bed or forego using it during part of the day. What I've discovered is that the bigger battery, plus what I suspect to be some clever hardware and software optimizations, will get me through a full day after being charged at night. The charge will last approximately 18 hours depending on the given day. However, there's still a delta where you need to plug in the watch at some point. For context, my usage mainly includes tracking my sleep patterns, activity and biometrics. On occasion, I'll leave the house without my phone and rely on the LTE functions to stay in contact with friends and family, plus listen to music or podcasts. If you have more demanding requirements for battery life, you can extend the watch to 48 hours when used in power saving mode. This mode turns off some of the screen functions, Wi-Fi and LTE connections, and limits the CPU. However, you'll still be able to use the activity tracking features. You can turn on an extremely low power state called watch only mode. Here, all functions are switched off apart from the chronometer. On your watch, navigate to settings and then tap battery and device care. Tap battery and then tap watch only. Scroll down and tap turn on. At this point, it would defeat the main purpose of the Ultra as a sports accessory, but if you're unable to get near a charger for an extended period, at least you'll be able to tell the time. The good news is that with at least a 15-watt charger, the watch will recharge quickly. I estimate it was approximately 2 hours from 0 to 100%, but it's rare that I let it drain completely. Unfortunately, device-to-device wireless charging using a compatible phone is no longer supported because of the new sensors in the back of the Ultra getting in the way. There's too much of a gap for the wireless charging to work. Also, my desktop wireless charger I use for other Samsung devices is not compatible as the strap suspends the Ultra above the charging pad. You have to use the official charger supplied with the watch for optimal charging setup. A new addition to Samsung's Health app suite alongside the launch of the Galaxy Watch 7 and Ultra is Energy Score. It's an AI-generated score from a conglomeration of sleep data, blood oxygen level, snoring time, skin temperature and heart rate. The proposed result is meant to be an informed summary and list of recommendations to improve your health with the help of artificial intelligence. When reviewing the data, I do find the sleep information to be useful personally. I've intermittently had a lot of problems getting enough sleep, so being able to review the accumulated data helps with improving my bedtime habits, encouraging me to go to bed earlier and even putting my phone down. Also, I do find the activity summary to be helpful too. Generally speaking, I don't do enough physical activity on a consistent basis. Having the ability to identify when my habits are suboptimal is good motivation to plan my day better and in turn improve my health. The other areas being monitored and rated are less useful but quite insightful. Overall, the concept of the Energy Score is good and has some everyday utility for all owners. The fact there's an easy to digest metric in the form of a single number and its variance versus the previous day can be useful. After processing your biometric data, the app on your phone provides suggestions for improving each area of your biometrics using AI. The AI will perform complex analyses to generate bespoke reports in a way that traditional apps wouldn't be able to supply the nuances between different people. Using me as an example, the Samsung app has enough data to see my personal sleeping habits thanks to the Ultra. This includes when I consistently go to bed and how long it takes to go to sleep. It then provides insights if it detects I have a variance and warns me of the change with a view to taking action. The same approach is used for previous day activities metrics. In combination with your goals, falling outside your normal regime will prompt the app to warn you. At this time, I've been unable to chart my skin temperature, which would actually be very useful. Despite changing the tightness and position of my watch, my Ultra is yet to capture any data. I have a general appreciation for the optimal temperature for me to get a good night's rest, but it would be nice to have defined metrics to review if the feature was working. First and foremost, the design is great. When I first saw the design, I thought maybe it's a little bulky and unattractive, but using the watch is a different experience altogether. I wasn't a fan of the Apple Watch Ultra design by comparison, but I found that despite the similar aesthetic, the more considered approach with the round face on a square metal and ceramic body makes the Ultra quite a handsome device. I even like it more than my Watch 6 Classic. In terms of the hardware, the Ultra is fast and lag-free. It's like having a high-end phone on your wrist thanks to the leading-edge hardware. Over the various generations of smartwatches I've owned, lag was always an issue. As a result, my expectations were lower compared to the performance of my phone, as stuttering and delays were always a frustration. However, even the jump from the Watch 6 Classic to the Ultra has been noticeable to me. The CPU has been designed using a 3nm process versus the Watch 6 5nm process. This means there are more computational cores squeezed into the already tiny silicon. The more cores, the more operations the watch can perform simultaneously, which in turn means fewer bottlenecks and waiting. This translates into fast response rates from apps, smooth animations, and functions running without delay. Talking of other unique features, the quick button is great, but also requires some thought. If you're a multidisciplined athlete or someone who engages in multiple activities, you'll want the quick button to launch into a sub-menu. However, those owners who have a singular focus will get the most out of the function for convenience, because you can set it to launch straight into a single activity, perfect for a quick workout. One change that was both necessary and also pointless was the change from having a physical rotating bezel to a digital touch control. As discussed, limiting water entry by removing physical moving parts makes perfect sense for the increased waterproofing. However, the attempt to replace the hardware doesn't really work in my opinion. I personally cannot get the digital control to work on a consistent basis, even when compared to my old Watch 4. Ultimately, you don't need the control anyway, as flicking between the screens and the apps is much faster. Perhaps the most important update from the Watch Classic to the Watch Ultra is the bigger battery, combined with what seems to be better power consumption management. Owning a smartwatch is really only as good as the battery lifespan. After all, if you can't get a full day out of the battery, at least from waking up to going to bed, it's somewhat pointless. However, even more important for watches like the Ultra that is focused on biometric tracking is the ability to keep the watch on overnight and still wake up in the morning and be able to leave the house without charging the watch. The Ultra doesn't disappoint. I'll wear my watch throughout the day, charge it around 6 PM and then wear it throughout the night and wake up with around 75% battery life. I have been able to go from the morning through the night to the following day, but then I have to charge it sometime in the early afternoon, which isn't as convenient for me personally. The Samsung Galaxy Watch is the perfect smartwatch for very active owners. It has a depth of features that will complement your lifestyle and provide meaningful insights into how to improve your performance. Even if the myriad of sporting activities isn't for you, the Ultra is an invaluable navigation tool for hikers and bikers who like to adventure and explore the world at large, knowing the watch battery is going to last a lot longer and not leave them high and dry in the middle of nowhere. However, for other less active users, you'll probably find the Samsung Galaxy Watch Classic is more than enough hardware for less money. Thank you for watching, and as always, it would be great if you were to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content on personal technology and the connected home.